Hi, welcome to my channel. I guess that's how you start these kinds of things. My name is Michelle. Most people call me Mikki. I am a trans woman, and I've decided that today will be my get to know you kind of video. I chose today, September 11th, to be that day because this day has a few different meanings to me for different reasons, and I want to share that with you. With September 11th of 2001, we know that the United States was attacked and the World Trade Center was hit with two planes. And that day had a great impact on me personally. It had an impact on, of course, on most anybody from Generation X or even the generations before us, and those who are younger than me as well. But, there are people like my daughter who don't know a world pre-September 11th, 2001. And that's kind of where my story begins, if you will, or at least the big part of it. I've known I was different, probably going back to the time that I was 10 or 12 years old. And back in those days, you didn't really have any kind of example on TV or in the media of any sort to show you what a trans person looked like or what a trans person was. And I was raised in the era of the AIDS crisis, and I was educated that gay and different and queer and all these words were bad and they were wrong, and it made me not like myself quite a bit. I didn't know how to deal with that. So moving forward, though, to get back to the main point of our conversation today, I did work in World Trade for a time. I spent October and November of 1999 working in World Trade for Morgan Stanley. And we were on the 85th floor, or at least that's the floor I should say I was on. The company itself occupied 40 floors of Tower 2 of World Trade. And, it was a great time in my life. I got to learn a lot about myself, the city. I got to grow quite a bit then, and, really start to try to understand myself. By the time we move forward to September 11th of 2001, when we are attacked and two planes are run into World Trade, another plane run into the Pentagon, another plane crashes in a field in Pennsylvania. It shook me. It rocked my world. And it made me to really start questioning my life and my decisions and what was going on and why was I unhappy. It began a internal struggle that lasted for 18 additional years, sadly enough. But those 18 years also saw some great things in my life. Saw the birth of my daughter. It got to let me see her grow up. It let me explore a little bit of who I was, and that would bring us up towards the next big event that happened on September 11th. And that would be September 11th of 2019. The afternoon of September 11th of 2019, I went into surgery, the first surgery of my life, and it was to remove a foot of my colon. I was diagnosed with colon cancer just a few days prior, and they went in and they removed a foot worth of my colon, including a large cancerous growth. They removed lymph nodes that had cancer. in them as well. And that's where the really big change happens in my life. That morning, I made an agreement with myself that if I made it through surgery, which I was honestly pretty sure I wouldn't, that I would finally, at that point at the age of 43 years old, truly allow myself to be myself. So when I awoke the next morning on September 12th, yes, I don't remember post-op or anything, though I was told I did wake up briefly, but I can only really remember going into surgery at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and waking up the next day at 9 in the morning. I woke up. I had made it through. And I really started to explore then in my head what was really going on. And that, of course, as I said, I'm a trans woman, was just that. The working through the thought processes to determine that I was a trans woman. And it still took a little bit of time to get to the full realization. I spent the next month in Fort Myers at my parents' home. That's where I had surgery, was in Fort Myers. That's where I became very ill. I returned home early October of 2019. And at that point, being free of my parents again and being home and alone, I full on began to explore things. I started painting my nails, I started playing with makeup again, I started playing around with my hair. Shortly thereafter, I got a pixie cut. I came out to the closest friend I had and let her know what were my thoughts at the time. Where was I heading? And I'd only known her for a few months at that point. And she surprised the hell out of me by just grabbing hold of me, giving me a big hug, and letting me know she'd be there for me. And she still is to this day. Very grateful for her. I returned to work after getting through my first chemo cycle. Actually, I think I got through 2 chemo cycles before I returned to work. And I started working again with my painted nails, and some days I would dress a little bit more androgynous. I would start wearing mascara to work. Yeah, I arose some suspicions of different people, but I just let them know this is who I am without coming out yet, but just letting them know painting my nails didn't change me. None of that changed who I really was. I was still the same person. At the core, I was still somebody who worked hard and did my job well. And I continued to go to work. And every 2 weeks, I would go in for a chemo treatment. And I would return to work the next day with chemo on my hip. Because my chemo cycles lasted for 48 hours. And I would work on chemo, and my best friend and others would check in on me and make sure that I was resting when I needed to rest, and drinking and feeding myself and doing the things I needed, because not only was I diagnosed with cancer at that time, I was diagnosed as diabetic, having high blood pressure. So yeah, I had a lot going on all of a sudden. And we proceed through the rest of the year. By Thanksgiving, I had come out to the majority of my close family. Shortly after Christmas, I came out to my daughter. And the majority of my friends, by January 4th of 2020, I came out publicly. And when I returned to work a few days later, I came out to my boss, to HR, to all the way up through the vice president of my department, and let them know I was going to live full time as Michelle. My best friends, who gave me the nickname Mikki because I love Disney so much, and she's like, I thought you would go with Mikki. And I'm like, but I like Minnie a little bit better. She goes, well, you don't have to spell it that way. So we came up with an alternate spelling for Mikki, which let me tie into my love of Disney. And so life began, living full time as a woman. I can still remember wearing my first dress to work. I can remember going shopping with her that very first time to start buying a new wardrobe. But I was still on chemo. And being on chemo meant that I couldn't start hormones yet. After talking with my doctors, both my oncologist and my hormone doctors and my general practitioner and all the doctors I have now, they agreed that it would be wiser that I wait till we ended chemo and that we were in the clear, because adding additional changes to my hormone structure and things could potentially affect the chemo, is what the concern was. So we waited, and I began to slowly transition. And from the standpoint of physically, I mean, I was already living as a woman, but I began to do what I could. I started really focusing in on my health and losing weight. And we then get to July of 2020, having made it through the first wave of the COVID pandemic, and I began hormones. And I am deathly afraid of needles. Crazy concept, right? Somebody who's gonna start hormones, and I didn't realize at the time that meant I was gonna have to do an injection. I thought this was all pills and such, and no, it's a series of pills, but it's also injections, for me at least. And again, my best friend is right there with me as I sat at the head of my dining room table that fateful morning to do my first injection. And while she probably was a little bit more direct, she encouraged me and told me I could do it, and to my amazement, I did. And what started out as a once-a-week injection has progressed now to a once every 5 days injection. The amount that I inject has doubled. I'm still taking my pills for my testosterone blockers. What I inject is my estrogen. And here we are now, September 11th, 2021. I have been living full-time as a woman for, what would that be now? 21 months, roughly? Something like that. 21 months. I have been on hormones for just short of 14 months. In my time since being diagnosed with cancer, I have lost nearly 100 pounds. And I have dyed my hair bright red, and I love it. And I love every minute of being me now. I was not happy before. I was miserable. So the fact that I can live a happy life and I can be here talking to you today impresses me so much. And I look forward to you hopefully continuing to watch videos as I'll share other experiences about being a trans woman in her 40s. I'm going to share experiences about Walt Disney World and the cool things that I like to do there, and hopefully I can show you some new things. and whatever else honestly comes to mind. I don't exactly know the full direction of this channel. I know I've posted some videos that are compilations of outfits of the day for the last couple of months, and I plan to continue to do that. I have posted already a video about where can you find the Super Zoom locations at the different Disney parks here in Florida. And I have others planned. But I wanted to introduce myself today, give you a little bit of my backstory, give you a little bit of my who I am, why I am kind of thing. And hopefully, again, you've stuck around this long and you'll stick around more to watch more of the videos and get to know each other a little. Thank you so much. I love each and every one of you. Take care. Bye-bye.